I remember the first time I saw an interest rate that was more than 100% come through on a cash flow form. And I was like researching beforehand and like looking it up. I'm like, can they do that? Like, is that legal? Can they do that? Yes, they can. I literally don't care if they pay any of these other credit cards on time. Probably the biggest red flag out of this whole thing on the cash flow form. And this is a really important question to ask. What is up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm financial coach Jess, and we are going through another cash flow form today. Just to remind you, I've done 2 other cash flow form videos. I will link them right here, and I won't be necessarily repeating all the stuff that I said in those, so I do recommend that you watch those first. I've got a juicy one today. I'm really excited to take you guys through this. It's very different from the other 2 that I've done so far. So let's go ahead and jump in. This cash flow form, the income is very interesting. It looks like we have possibly 2 people working. Remember, I don't really know anything else about my clients. When they sign up, I just receive their cash flow form whenever they pay for coaching. And so getting this, I would guess that there's 2 people involved. What else caught my eye was the bonus, the $500 bonus. Is this a regular bonus? Is this overtime that is worked? What does that look like? And are these salaried or are they hourly? Those will be a couple of questions I would have about the income. Other than that, no real big red flags there. Moving down, this is a mortgage, as you'll see further down on the debt list. So we do have a house. This is our first client that has a house and not just renting. So there are a lot of other expenses that are going to go along with that. They already have repairs, water, gas, electric, trash. One of the expenses that caught my eye immediately was the phone at $264 a month. If we can at all get that lowered, if we can switch providers, if we can switch something up to get that to a more reasonable amount, I would definitely have them shop around and look for that, do a little bit of research, because $264 is going to be brutal on this budget. Otherwise, we've got internet and cable, very reasonable amounts, but I would definitely have them shop around for a new phone plan. Next, we've got groceries and restaurant. This seems a little bit on the higher side just compared to their income. These are very even numbers, so I don't think that they added up every single individual line item. So I'd ask them what they think about these numbers. Is it realistic? Are they feeding a whole family? Is it just the 2 of them? What does that look like? And do we need to tweak these at all? Next, we've got gas, repairs, tires, oil, insurance, supplements, life insurance. I also talk about life insurance in my one-to-one coaching, the recorded module section, so I don't talk about that with them in the session. Next big expense that caught my eye was the education was $700 a month. So if you're doing some math in your head between the mortgage, the phone, food, groceries, restaurants, and education, this is a huge chunk of our income already gone, just with a couple of line items. So I would definitely be asking them about this education. Is it every month? Is it every semester? Is it for their masters? Is it for their kids? What is going on here and what does that all include? Because like I said, we've got a huge chunk of our income already spoken for, and we haven't even got to the debt yet. Subscriptions, $41, pet supplies, birthday, Christmas, clothing, entertainment, retirement fund, depending on their age, depending on if this is 2 people or if it's just one person's retirement fund, this is very encouraging. They have been consistent at putting money away in retirement. If it's kind of a downer session, if I see a lot of red flags, I do try and pick out some things that I can encourage them with, and this would definitely be one of those things. Other savings, big red flag, we have $0 saved, and we want to also protect that retirement fund as much as we can. We don't want to dig into that at all. And so getting our savings up, evaluating our risk, that's going to be an important piece of this. Other category, bankruptcy. So almost $500 taken from my pay. So that's already taken out of their income that they've shown me, but that's a huge chunk. And it also tells me that they have filed for bankruptcy before. So thankfully they're already in a house. We don't really have to worry about a credit score for that, but they're getting a chunk taken away, garnished basically from their wages. And it also speaks volumes that the bankruptcy is not a fix-all. It doesn't solve the problem that was there before, which was the spending was more than the income. So it makes me very optimistic that they want to really solve the root issue of this. They don't want to file for bankruptcy again. They don't want to have more garnished from their wages, but they've gotten into the same situation that they were in before, and the bankruptcy didn't fix it. Okay, so we have no car payments. I would definitely ask them a little bit about that. What is the standing of their cars? Is that something that we need to be saving for? Or did they just buy cars in cash earlier on, several years ago? What does that look like? Because again, without a credit score, they're not going to be able to get a car loan. I don't want them to get something that's not safe. And so we want to make sure that the car standing is in a good place. I'm not going to read all of these credit cards to you. A couple of red flags that jump out immediately to me. Some of the debt is not current. That means that they've got collections coming at them already. Another big red flag is that they have a couple personal loans that were basically like payday loans, and those interest rates can be absolutely insane. I remember the first time I saw an interest rate that was more than 100% come through on a cash flow form. And I was like researching beforehand and like looking it up. I'm like, can they do that? Like, is that legal? Can they do that? Yes, they can. So we definitely want to get out of these personal loans. Looks like some of them are current, some of them are not. No student loans, just the mortgage, which probably the biggest red flag out of this whole thing on the cash flow form. And this is why it's so important to ask if the debts are current, but they said that their mortgage is not current. So right away, like big number one priority that I want to talk to them about is getting the house current. That is an asset. That asset has debt. If the debt defaults, they could get foreclosed on and they could lose the house. So that is the biggest thing that is on fire right now that we need to address. This also tells me that we need to take things way back and like truly look at this from a needs versus wants mentality. I mean, literally nothing else should get paid before the mortgage. And I know this is sometimes kind of backwards to people, especially if they have collections calling. They're like, oh my gosh, like I gotta get these collections people off my back. I don't wanna get these phone calls. And they put the mortgage on a back burner because it just doesn't seem as urgent, when in reality, that is the number one thing that needs to get paid. I literally don't care if they pay any of these other credit cards on time. They don't have any car loans, so those can't be repossessed. The house is the only thing that can be taken. And without a credit score, this is even more dangerous and even more of a big red flag. Okay, I cannot emphasize that enough to you guys. Like, that is the biggest thing that we would be focusing on, and making sure that that is caught up depending on how many back months they owe. Okay, so let's say I talk to them about that. They understand. They're like, okay, we're gonna get the house caught up. We come up with a plan for that with their income and expenses. Maybe they can work some extra. We get the house caught up, or we at least have a plan to get it caught up. That is the number one priority. I make that very clear. What do we do next? How do we tackle this? I talk about this process of dealing with collectors and collection agencies in another video, and I'll link that above here. But what I would do and what I would talk through with them is say, basically, the cards and the balances that are already in collections, we are not going to be paying them any money right now, because we need to focus on the cards that are still current. That doesn't mean, unfortunately, that the collection agencies will leave you alone. They want to get paid and they are vicious. So I would basically let them know, remind them if they've already looked this up, but remind them of their rights. They might already know because they went through the bankruptcy, but remind them of their rights. Collection agencies can only call you at certain times. And again, I go through like that whole thing in that video. So if you want to know the whole process, you can watch that. But it's very important for them to know how to deal with the collection agencies. Don't make promises that you can't keep. Don't make up stuff that isn't true. You actually want to be the one to call the collection agencies. And I know that sounds weird, like I'm trying to avoid them. Why would I call them? But you actually want to call them because mentally, with your mindset, it lets yourself know that you are in control. You're going to be the one calling them and giving them an update on your finances. You're not paying them any money, and they don't need to be calling you and hounding you at your house. You are actually going to be the one in the driver's seat, calling them, letting them know what's going on. It's a definite switch from what people are used to. You know, they're used to, like I said, avoiding the collection agencies, making stuff up, lying to them, making promises you can't keep. And we don't want to do that. We want to make promises we can keep to the collection agencies. And eventually, we want to be able to settle the debt, and that way they stop talking to you altogether. But we can't do that when our mortgage is not current and we've got other cards that need to be taken care of. So long story short, to condense that a little bit for you guys, Mortgage is the number one concern. Second concern, since we don't have cars that can be repossessed, and I would definitely check with them to make sure that that's true, is to make sure that our current credit cards stay current. The collection agency we're dealing with separately, but we do want to keep paying the minimum payment on the other credit cards. I would definitely have this client calling those cards that are current and saying, hey, here's my situation. I have filed for bankruptcy before. I've got credit cards that are in collections right now. I want to keep paying you. That's always so important to communicate to them, because that's all the credit card companies care about, is getting paid. So you want to say, I want to keep paying you. I want to keep this debt current. Work with me. What can you do? Can we lower the interest rate? Can we freeze the minimum payment so it doesn't keep going up? Can we lower the minimum payment for 6 months, for 3 months? If there's something that happened, again, don't make up something, but if there's something that happened, an emergency at home, you lost a job, you're recovering from losing a job, whatever, talk to them about that. Sometimes they have special deals that they can do for people when they come into crisis mode, because they want to keep them as a client. They want to keep the card open and current. They want to work with you. They just want to get paid. So just keep that in your mind. That's their number one priority, is keeping you a customer and getting paid. We all want the same thing. We want to pay them to get this balance gone. They want to get paid. We're all on the same team. So after they call the credit card companies to see if there's anything that they can do to work with them, we want to keep all the debts current that we can. I would definitely have them look at their expenses versus their income. Remember, I talked about this in the last cash flow form. Bottom line, there's two things you can do each month, and that is cut your expenses and raise your income. So what can we do within our own budget to make this a positive number? We want to get out of the red and get out of spending more each month than we're bringing in. And that brings me back to the bonus. That brings me back to, is this salary? Is this hourly? What can you guys do within your own job, your own career, to maybe make some more money? And if you get desperate, I mean, we're talking sell plasma, we're talking sell stuff on Marketplace, tutor, like do whatever you have to do to get that income up so that we can get back on track here and get these cards gone. It's really important to remind them, because this is overwhelming, right? Your house isn't current, you've got collections calling you, and you want me to go out and like make more money. Like, it just can feel very overwhelming. And I really tried to emphasize, they were at the time working with me for 6 months. Let's work just insanely hard for the next 6 months. While you're working with me, you've got the accountability, you've got the direction. I've laid out this plan, this map for you. If you just follow the instructions, we can get out of this mess and we can make new habits for the future. Remember, I said this in the last video too. When clients worked with me for 6 months' time, they usually paid off about $10,000 worth of debt, which is crazy. But I had this pep talk with them. I'm like, let's work insanely hard for the next 6 months. You've got me coaching you through this. Let's just like get it done. And these balances are not insane. Like, the number of cards I think would be more overwhelming than the balances that are actually on the cards. Zeroing these out one by one over the next couple months would feel so insanely good. I always love it when clients message me that they've paid off another card. It just feels so satisfying after struggling for so long with these to see that balance say zero and know that all of the money that you make is now yours. At the end of the session, I would talk them through some positives and what's possible while working together. It is encouraging that their retirement fund has a significant amount in it. Once we get our house current, the debt gone, the savings built up, they'll be in such a better place and they'll have the knowledge and the habits to make this a lasting change. I would also remind them that they're on the right track. They've tried the bankruptcy thing before because they thought that was their only option, and it worked for the moment, but it's not working now. They're back in the same situation that they were in before. So we're trying something new, and this is gonna work. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this cash flow forum and that you learned a lot and aren't afraid to shy away from people who have gone through bankruptcy or people who have stuff in collections. It really hasn't been that bad in the past for me, just walking them through step by step what they can do and having those scripts available so that when they're on the phone with the collection agency and with their credit card companies, they know what to say and what their options are. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel for future videos, and I will see you guys in the next one.